Amazing video today. We're going to talk about the power of ISO-8, what characters are worthy to take to level 5 and what classes. In addition, something I think that needs to be talked about over and over again is the difference between gear tier level 12, 13, 14, 15, the difference between level 70 and 75 and level 80. And helping me with all of that is Reminex. What's up, my guy, Reminex?
What's going on?
Yeah, we got boomers in the house. Are we going to get all this sorted out?
Yeah, well, if we can remember what we're talking about.
Yeah, what are we talking about? I can't remember. We were going to talk about some stuff. So one of the questions I got the other day is like, XYZ character, should I take Ghost or Bishop to gear tier 13? And the answer is neither of them. It's 12 or 14. Let's talk about that first because that's kind of a big deal, right?
Yeah, so what happened was we figured out early on that the focus and the stat increase on resistance just made a big change, especially in environments like war arena, anywhere where you're PvP, where you need certain effects to land, control effects. And so it really became prevalent that it was really stop at 12 or go to 14. Don't put anything on 13.
Okay, so what the reason why this matters is because up to 12, it's just purple gear. And then when you go to 13, there's a ton of orange gear. We're talking about SBCs, catalysts, origin pieces, and also 13s, more 13s. You 12 13s, and then, it keeps going. Then you go to 14, you need another 24, so on. And the thing is that going from 2 to 12, there's very modest increases in stats. 1%, 2%, 5%, 4%. When you hit 13, going from 12 to 13 is like a 4% stat increase with a sizable amount of orange gear, correct? A meaningful amount of orange gear, correct?
Yeah, and meaningful to the point where you have to make that selection. Consider they just recently admitted that they're not going to be relieving that scopal neck very, very soon, right?
Okay, yeah. So now this chart right here says it's 32% from going to 13 to 14. That's not entirely true. What it is, it's actually 50% focus and resistance, which is huge. And then I believe damage, health, and armor, I think those are the three important stats, right? Are about 20%. So average between the two is 33%, but it's really a monster focus and resistance boost going to 14 and a modest health, damage, armor, right?
Yeah, and part of that's also the level issues too. 71 and 74 have some.
We'll talk about the level issue secondly, but because I want to talk about 15 before we talk about levels. Does that sound good? Yeah.
Sounds good.
Okay, because 15 is actually and the problem with 14 also is you don't get those stat increases until you go to 14, where 15 works differently, right? There is a jump at 15, but it creeps up as you add the pieces, right? It's a different, it's confusing, right? Would you agree it's kind of confusing?
Yeah, this is probably, when they made 14, I was like, oh boy, it was definitely jarring because of the amount of stat increase built into one single element and one single, gear tier, right? It was jarring.
So by completing 14, you get that monster boost. And so we were talking about this a little bit earlier, is that really, in some ways, the jump between 12 and 14 is so huge. 13 is a waste of time, but the difference between 12 and 14 is huge, and the resources are huge, but it's almost coming to a place where, for a character to be effective, they almost have to be at 14. And before, like when I unlock a new character, I immediately take them to level 71, gear tier 12, 6664, on their abilities. And then I just play with them, right? But now I'm like, well, that's not doing anything, especially if you don't have any red stars on them. At least like say 3 or 4 red stars is kind of just like a staple character. Let's talk about 15. So explain to me the jump up on 15 and how that works, because that's an important one also, right? And I'm going to...
So actually you get more attack. So more attack power and more health as a function. So it's not as much of the focus and resistance. So it's not as bad as the 14, but it's definitely noticeable.
Okay, so and it's about 20%, right? Going from 14 to 15.
It varies by character, but I think it's between 18 and 24%, depending on the character. I think that we determined that. I have to get the exact details for you, but like for instance, the health it definitely feels like they're pretty chunky when they get up to 15.
Okay, so now something I've noticed on upgrading up until 14, you know, you attach a piece and you get like 200 health or something. You get nothing. But once you're in 14 and you attach a 15 piece, it's actually a significant amount. And specifically, what are we going to call this piece right here? This is the piece that takes the 13s, right? But this is a stat monster, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know what you call it. That would be called their unique, the character unique, or the character. I mean, it's just we've used the word unique so many times.
It's the left middle, right? It is the left middle. And when you click this, it gives like a bunch of stats. It's even actually more than it says right here, because then the multipliers go out. And where
I guess we can call it the iconic piece, the iconic.
Okay, the iconic piece. Yeah, and so, but clicking on the iconic piece in other gear tiers doesn't do anything. But these pieces in the 14s, going up to 15s, without using the 15 specifics, are actually relatively important. Now, I have extra pieces, and I know you're really strapped for Orange Catalyst pieces. Do you suggest, like you saw what I did here with Black Bolt? Like
I'll do that. You shouldn't be doing that.
Oh, you shouldn't be doing that? Okay. Because it's actually probably a large percentage of that total 20% comes from that one little piece.
You probably may only want to do that depending on how much gear you have, how many orbs you have. You really only want to do that if you have an excess of orange gear. And because we don't know. Like, click on that piece for a second.
Oh, this one right here? Yeah, so this one takes. See, I was debating doing this, and the scarcity here was the origin piece right here, the isomers, and I was looking at it, going, is that worth it? Because these are garbage, right? Or not garbage, but I have an abundance of these, abundance of this. Really, the only scarce piece was right here, and I was trying to assess if it was worth doing that. Because, by the way, you have to use the planners, because if you piecemeal characters that are not going into DD4, you really can get into trouble, right?
Yeah, well, so let's go to the iconic piece one more time, because I think this will be where we can see what I'm talking about. So there's another piece over there on the right side where, you know, the 13 unique, whatever you want to call it, right?
Yeah, the 13s, right? Yeah.
So what if a new character comes out? What if the newest X Factor member needs superior quantum energy?
Right.
Well, and you want to take them to G14 or 15,
right?
Now you're behind. Now you've also used 40 of the isomers, which are your symbiotes for City, if you haven't geared them up. So
don't do this, is what we're saying. Don't do this, because the 13s, we're talking about the 13s is superior quantum energy. Like any given character needs 12 to go to 13, another 24 to go to 14, another 25 to go to 15, a total of 61. And if you're talking about alien spores, or there's a bunch of them that are super scarce, right? But alien spores is the classic one that everybody understands. It's like, oh my God, I don't have enough for alien spores, right?
And that one was shared by what? Ghost and Ant-Man. So I mean, people were using that to go through different characters here. So
yeah, because this is really, I mean, other than the supply store and one of the orange orbs, like the better of the two raid orbs, and then the best of the war store orbs. I mean, these are not to be found, and they're pretty much just wallet farmable at this point, which is outrageous. Now, lastly, so we're talking about, we've talked about power stat increases going from like 12 to 14 and 14 to 15. There's also very important to understand the stat differences between going from level 70 to 75 and then 75 to 80. So what happens when you go from 70 to 75?
Yeah, so you're getting a portion of the increase, because remember, the gear is part of the increase, and the other. So the difference between 70 and 75 is when we took that number, that 32.1%, that is factoring in the gear as well. But 71 is that breakpoint where you get that early focus and resistance. I think you get a portion of that there, depending on the character. I think it's like 8%. Then you get another like sizable jump at 74. So you can make some choices if you're trying to build up characters, especially if you're behind and they're not functioning the way you want them to in war. And that's the concern we have is if you're facing gear tier 14 and your abilities aren't landing because you're using gear tier 12 characters, you can get a small increase by going up to 71. All right.
There's a small bump. So going to 70, it seems like going from 0 to 70, you get this linear path of a little bit of health, a little bit of armor, a little bit of focus, a little bit of resistance. It kind of grows. But when you get to 71, it stops giving you health, focus. It stops giving you health, armor, and damage, and it starts giving you pretty much only focus and resistance until you get to 75. And it's why do they have to do it this way? It's so confusing. So I actually stop at 71 because that you get a huge focus and resistance boot by going to 71, and then you finish it off. So I believe going from 70 to 75 is a 2% increases in basic stats, and it's like another 50% in focus resistance. It's absurd, right? I mean, why do they do it? Why can't they? It's not linear, is what I'm trying to say. It's really confusing.
Well, the problem we have is that's created the problem we're facing right now. I think Gear Tier 14 is the single biggest culprit for the frustration we have, is because there really is, in a PvP environment, when you're facing each other and you're fighting an opponent in either arena or in war, you're struggling if you meet too many of Gear 14 characters and you don't have
and I'm experiencing that personally with this team right here, the Astonishing X-Man, which has tons of negative status effects apply, and because I don't have them at 14 and I don't have them at 75, nothing is sticking, because all of the focus and resistance boosts happen if they pretty much, I don't want to say they cap out, but they peak at 75 and they peak at 14. That's where the big jumps happen. So let's talk about going from 75 to 80, which is what, 2.2 million. It's a lot of gold, right?
It's literally your milestone when the milestone character's there. Taking one character a day from 75 to 80 is literally finishing your milestones for you with one character. That is literally.
But that gives a huge damage, armor, and health boost, and not so much the focus and the resistance. I think it's 19% just on going from 75 to 80. It's crazy, right?
Yeah, I don't know the specifics on that, because I think some of that was evaluated with gear, but we have to take a look at the 75 with the 80. But I do know that it is, you couple, if you go from, now you go from G14 with G15. And so you're talking level 80 to get there.
Right.
You're seeing just monstrous amounts of damage and a monster amounts of health to get through. And it's really a challenge, I think, because it's made GT12 irrelevant.
Yes. So I think what we're trying to say here, and then we're going to talk about ISO-8 briefly, is that when you take a character from 0 to 70 and from gear tier 0 to 12, there's this kind of linear path where you get this distribution of stats. It's relatively linear. And then it gets wonky after that, where there's no reason to go to 13 except for maybe Dark Dimension 2, but let's just ignore that conversation for now, because there's no point. It's just, you really need to either go to 12 and stop or go to 14. And when you go to 14, you get monstrous increases by going to 14. And then you also get a modest increase going to 15. And then when character levels, like when you're going from 0 to 70, you have this linear path, relatively linear to your stats. And then when you get to 70 and go to 75, it's all focus and resistance, no health and armor in there. And then it flips when it goes from 75 to 80, where it's all it's like all the stats that they didn't give you from going from 70 to 75 are given to you by going from 75 to 80. Where if we look at the total path between 70 and 80, it's probably relatively linear, but it's front loaded in 70 to 75 in focus and resistance, and it's back loaded in the end for armor, health, and damage on 75 to 80. Why? It should be confusing, right?
No, I think why is to incentivize gearing up characters to that level. I mean, it's designed to make you feel the pain of not having characters leveled when you face them in PvP. And I think that's like the idea behind this is, right? I mean, if you're like, if you're going to take on the new arena meta, what is your expectation? If you're going to take on Black Order, what is your expectation for gear and level? What do you think is going to be a reasonable expectation?
Oh, if I'm going to take on Black Order, oh my God, it's going to, I have 15 T4s in my Black Order, all of them at 15, all of them at 14, half of them at 15, and promotion credit. So we're not even talking about red stars in this video. We're not even talking about red stars in this video at all, because we're going to talk about ISO-8, right? Anyways.
we're going to go in there in a second, but you know, my point is that investment level, like if you're going to get a new team and they're going to challenge the Black Order in arena, well, you better not make that mistake, because you're going to have to invest that level of gear into that team to expect to beat them. Just be prepared for that.
Okay. So we're going to talk about ISO-8 for a second. And I want to say that ISO-8, you know, you get 2%, 2%, 2% on these little stats right here every time you go up. It's a total of 10% each by the time you get up. And the 5 stats that we've been talking about throughout this video: health, damage, armor, focus, and resistance. But the thing is it's additive with red stars. Explain why that's actually a good thing. Go for it.
So the way that works is in the formula, it's basically, it takes both the red star bonus and the ISO bonus. So what happens is, over time, each time more ISO, if in the future, when ISOs, you know, go up higher levels and have more impact, they're going to be as impactful to your character as a red star.
Okay, I want, because the biggest frustration that I think I personally had with red stars is that we had no agency, and it was extremely powerful, like with no control. Like the difference between having a 2-star and a 7-star was night and day, and they've leveled out that curve. But because it's additive with ISO-8, it's actually taking the slope out of that red star curve. And I hate to say this, and because I know you're going to say it because you've said it to me before, and it kind of annoyed me. The solution to the red star problem might be ISO-8.
Yeah. So over time, the idea behind it is ISO-8 gives you not only agency,
yes,
but it also over time will
explain agency. Actually, someone had to explain what you mean by agency.
Agency, it means you have the power, like you have the
you
power.
Have control. Yeah.
You have the power to choose, you know, so without control, you know, that's the thing. Like with red stars have been completely random, and, you know, having the power. So what happens is, so now this 10% all stats is being added. So if you think about it, at level 5 ISO, all right, you're getting plus 10% on a 4 red star, which the bonus on a 4 red star is, geez, I'm drawing
20%. I don't know, 20%. I mean, I can pull. I got it right here. I've got it right here. I'll give you the number. Go for it. Keep talking. 4 is 35. 50 is 50%. Yeah, there you go.
So now you're getting 45%. So you're close to a red star. Even more importantly, at 5 red star ISO 5, right?
Right.
Check it out. You're at 60%.
Right. And so the ISO-8 bonuses are additive to this number. They're not. It's even though it's a multiplication, it's additive to this bonus. Okay, so. Here's the thing. We were talking about this. Like, I'm finding that, like, a new character comes out, it's pretty easy for me to take them to ISO 3. If I like them a lot and I want to use them in my Alliance War team, I'll take them to 4. It takes me a couple days to get them to 4, right? You know, I mean, I have to be very deliberate about taking character to 4 because I get that extra 10% health. Because basically, when you do level 1 on ISO-8, you get the Skirmisher bonus, right? Then level 2, you get 10% health. Level 3, you get a bonus to the Skirmisher, right? And then level 4, you get more health. And then level 5 is the final form, right? And
yes.
And so what I want to know, and I actually do not have any idea, and this is why I'm asking you, because I have no idea. Going to level 5, level 4 is painful, right? But level 5 is doubly painful. What characters? So I got to be picky. It's almost like promotion credits. Like we've made videos about promotion credits, what characters put on promotion credits. So people are asking me what characters are worth ISO 5 and what classes are worth ISO 5, and I don't know. Go.
So number one class, in my opinion, that you want to talk about is Skirmisher.
Okay.
And Skirmisher, because Skirmisher just does so much at every level. First, at level 3, it does 1 effect, but at level 5, you're clearing 2 buffs on the target if what the target already marked. So pairing 2 Skirmishers together can become an effective way to get through taunt, an effective way to remove death proof. All these other effects that are on there as well.
50% focus is huge. 50% focus is huge.
And the focus to that is a big deal. So it's effectively about 30% because of the way that the formula works. But just so you know, it is phenomenal that you get that as a stat. So Skirmisher, if you have a Skirmisher that you're working with, think about the environment that it's in. I like the symbiotes at level 5.
Yeah, I was going to say you're all because you can beat Black Order with symbiotes if you have them at if you can land negative effects, because the team depends on landing negative effects, and it's the difference between landing them and not landing them against a Black Order matchup, correct?
Right, and so that's the thing is, and also clearing buffs, being able to get through that taunt and stuff like that on Cole.
So help me out. Is it worth taking Proxima to fight?
So yeah, Proxima is a really good example of a character that she has the potential to start clearing it. Now, the only drawback is with the way that you have it set up in the Black Order matchup. The Black Order matchup, she's losing it because of the striker combo with Corvus. However, the big difference comes is the fact that you're using her in Dark Dimension 4.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be where if you pair her with another skirmisher, especially on some of these later cosmic nodes, she's gonna do that. Now I'm gonna say
I gotta boil it down. So as far as characters, let's talk about teams. I believe that there's 3 entrenched teams in this game right now. Entrenched. You know what I mean by entrenched? Like teams that were 3 entrenched teams. Do I have to spell it out? So Black Order, Symbiotes, and Marauders, right? And so all 3 of those teams are, the skirmishers on those teams are probably good candidates for ISO-5s. I'm just making blanket statements, right?
No, because the skirmishers on those teams aren't, and that's the problem, right? Because because that's why you have Striker with Emma, and we're going to talk about it's pretty. You have to take a look at the hot. Like honestly, if you took your top 13 list, we tease you about the top.
Yeah,
10
my
list.
top 10 is not top 10 anymore. Okay,
my top 10-ish list. You got to put the little ish in quotes, like ish, list. But the idea behind that is, there's definitely different variants of this. So her at level 5 with the healer because of her passive heals. So you've already done level 5 on her. You've already justified it to yourself because of the just the amount that heals on there.
Well, let's talk about that. It's partially because there's a bug in Alliance War.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's if you have a good healer, they tend to be a problem. I thought it was fixed.
I don't know if it's fixed. I know there was one, but that was one of the justification. Anyways, there were.
I'll get confirmation on that. If you guys don't know what he's talking about, if you guys are facing a team and you do not win,
you have to win the first time against something with the big healers. Because if you leave this Emma alone and go in with 10 times, the problem gets worse and worse. And that's how people get these like 25 wins with a character like Emma or Doc Ock with a healer class, right?
Yeah, let us know in the comments if you're seeing these buffs that keep regenerating with heals. It is something that we've made the devs aware of. I thought it was fixed. I could be wrong. I might be taking that for granted, but take a look at it. We'll know soon.
All right.
Let us know.
So we're going to wrap up the video with this. Top 5 characters that you recommend to people going to ISO 5 and what class?
Ready? Thanos 6 red star striker must have kill Doom. You're going to want to have a 6 red higher striker to kill Doom. Changing our ISO selections mainly because that is going to be your Doom killer. You're going to start seeing a lot more in wars.
I'm waiting to change mine. I knew I had to change Doom to striker. Actually, there's three logical choices on Doom. It's just expensive to switch. We've had it for Raider forever, but we're going to have to switch it to striker just for Doom. Anyways, keep going.
Yeah, so Symbiote Spider-Man as a level 5 skirmisher, Carnage is a level 5 skirmisher. If you're using the symbiotes in a wide variety of modes, if they're your predominant, they're gonna get some sizable bonuses on both of those. Now, the other ones I'm gonna recommend here are any character. So just really quickly, any character you've had a significant investment in, you're bringing into Dark Dimension. I would probably say strikers are important. And Raiders. So X Factor, Long Shot as a level 5 Raider and Shatterstar's level 5 Raider. If you're using them,
yes, it's huge because they get the extra crits and all that stuff. It's great, right?
Yeah, you're gonna crit your pants and you're gonna have fun. So that's the big difference. So those are the other 2 characters. So top 5 right there, in no particular order, because of how they work in synergy with each other.
All right. Let me know what you think in the comment section. I think this was an incredibly helpful video. Also, if you have other questions that are along this line, which you think would make a good video, because we need video ideas. And so there's some things that just need to be explained and some things that aren't explained, or things that we've explained before that just need to be. That's what I find, because I think I've covered most of this stuff in a video before, but it gets lost. And so
also new stuff. There's more relevant stuff. I mean, new teams come out, things like that come out, and those are the big differences.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Anything you want to say before we go? We did a video on your channel about, is this game fun? Do you trust Scopely? So go ahead, go check that out. Anything else before we go?
Oh, man, remember, have fun.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Keep on gaming, gamers, because gamers are cool. You're a nerd if you're not a gamer. I don't know what I'm saying.
You put the FU in fun.
Oh, Scopely puts the FU in fun, right?
Yeah.